Shirō Ishii was born on June 25, 1892 in the rural village of Shibayama, Chiba Prefecture, during the height of Japan's imperial transformation. His family, modest yet ambitious, encouraged him to merge the moral rigor of Shinto tradition with the restless modernity that Meiji Japan regarded as the key to national survival. Exceptionally intelligent and fiercely self-assured, Ishii entered Kyoto Imperial University's medical faculty and dazzled classmates by reciting entire chapters of Gray's Anatomy from memory. Upon graduating in 1920, he joined the Army Medical Corps, a choice reflecting both patriotic zeal and an acute awareness that bacteriology had become a military frontier after the gas war horrors of World War I. While posted to Army Hospital I in Tokyo, Ishii consumed European journals on microbiology and noticed a loophole in the Geneva Protocol of 1925. Biological weapons were outlawed in principle, yet international enforcement mechanisms were rudimentary at best. In a series of eloquent memoranda to senior officers, he argued that microbes could serve resource-poor Japan as an inexpensive force multiplier, cultured in steel tanks for a fraction of the cost of artillery shells, dispersed covertly, and camouflaged as natural epidemics. His mixture of scientific bravado and geopolitical logic won the patronage of War Minister Sadao Araki, who soon dispatched him on a fact-finding tour of Germany, France, and the United States. The journey confirmed Ishii's conviction that Japan must not lag in a field so perfectly suited, in his view, to asymmetric warfare. Back in Asia, Ishii secured covert funding to set up an epidemic prevention laboratory in occupied Manchuria. By 1936, the outpost had grown into Unit 731, a vast complex at Pingfong complete with vivisection theaters, frostbite chambers, glass-lined fermentation vats, a crematorium, an airstrip, and a dedicated rail spur. Publicly, the facility fell under the Guangdong Army's Medical Bureau. In reality, it became the nerve center of Japan's biological warfare program, with Ishii, now a brigadier general, presiding like a feudal lord on horseback, issuing orders through a gold-plated megaphone. Inside the perimeter, Chinese civilians and capture partisans, condemned as Maryuta logs, were infected with plague, anthrax, glanders, and hemorrhagic fever, then dissected alive without anesthesia to trace organ-by-organ degeneration. Others were exposed to sub-zero temperatures to chart the precise timeline of frostbite or strapped to stakes as ceramic bombs filled with plague-ridden fleas exploded overhead, testing weapon delivery efficiencies. Field trials followed. In 1940, plague-bearing fleas reigned on Ningbo. A year later, cholera pathogens were dumped into wells around Changde, triggering epidemics whose toll ran to the thousands and lingered for years in local rodent reservoirs. Parallel detachments, Units 100, 1644, 1855, and 9,420, replicated the experiments across East and Southeast Asia, feeding raw data back to Pingfong statisticians. As Japan's military fortunes collapsed in August 1945, Ishii ordered Unit 731 liquidated. Laboratories were dynamited, remaining prisoners executed, records burned, and personnel instructed to mingle with retreating infantry. Misjudging Allied intentions, Ishii contemplated fleeing to Switzerland, but chose surrender when he realized the United States coveted his research. Under the clandestine terms of Operation Top Secret, American biological warfare officers traded immunity for Unit 731's complete archive, thousands of pages of meticulously logged infection curves, histological slides, and weapon designs. While the Nuremberg tribunals prosecuted Nazi physicians, and the Soviet Union convened its own Khabarovsk trials to expose Japanese crimes, Ishii and his senior aides sat for polite debriefings in Tokyo hotels and mailed their notebooks to Fort Detrick, Maryland. No indictment ever reached them. The U.S. classified the materials for decades, arguing that public revelation would compromise national security and might stimulate Soviet or Chinese programs. Stripped of uniform but unpunished, Ishii tried to reinvent himself in post-war Japan's ruinous economy. Reliable witnesses place him in the Tokyo suburb of Musashino, treating prisoners at a U.S. stockade to demonstrate goodwill and lobbying municipal officials to adopt a water purification device of his own design. He never lectured again, never published in peer-reviewed journals, and, according to one nurse, spent evenings pacing his yard reciting sutras that sought absolution through metaphors of fermentation and rebirth. He died of throat cancer on October 9, 1959, reportedly after telling a Buddhist monk that life itself is but a germ. If you kill it, another will grow. His funeral was brief, unattended by government dignitaries, though former subordinates in civilian clothes did bow before the closed casket. From a purely technical standpoint, Ishii's team pioneered large-scale fermentation, rapid freeze-drying of pathogens, and porcelain bomblets engineered to burst at low altitude without killing their insect vectors. Innovations eerily echoed in modern industrial bioreactors and precision agricultural sprayers. Yet unlike the V-2 rocket or the Saturn V booster, no redeeming civilian application can wash away the blood embedded in the data. At least 3,000 prisoners died inside Pingfong. Tens of thousands more perished in surrounding provinces from intentional epidemics. Ethical discourse now cites Ishii alongside Joseph Mengele as a cautionary tale of unbounded curiosity yoked to state violence. In Harbin and Nanjing, memorial museums document the atrocities that once hid behind laboratory walls. In Tokyo, diet committees still parry motions to issue a formal apology. Shirō Ishii's life charts the darkest trajectory of 20th century science. Genius nurtured by national ambition, weaponized in secrecy, consecrated by bureaucrats, shielded by post-war realpolitik, and finally erased from public memory. Until historians reconstructed the story he tried to burn. His legacy teaches a lesson that extends beyond any one nation or war. When the pursuit of knowledge detaches itself from the inviolable dignity of the human person, the petri dish can become a battlefield more lethal and less visible than any artillery